and their towns angered many. They made fun of the soldiers' bright red uniforms, jackets, tongue, and lobsters, and redcoats. Some of the soldiers became so angry that they destroyed colonial property. As anger between the colonists and the British soldiers grew, fights often broke out. One of the worst fights took place in Boston on March 5, 1770, when a large crowd of angry colonists gathered near several British soldiers. The colonists shouted at the soldiers and then threw rocks and snowballs at them. When the crowd moved forward, they knocked down some of the soldiers. The soldiers opened fire. 3 colonists were killed on the spot, and 2 others died later. Among the dead was an African-American sailor named Crispus Attucks. Many people think of Crispus Attucks as the first person who was killed in the fight for the colonists' freedom. Paul Revere, a Boston silversmith, known for his simple and beautiful work, supported the colonists. He made a picture of this shooting and titled it The Bloody Massacre. The massacre is the killing of the people who cannot defend themselves. The shooting soon became known as the Boston Massacre.
All rise for the jury and the honorable judge Thomas Hutchinson. Please be seated.
Hey, you guys have to be quiet up here.
Case number 351770. Good morning. Today we are trying the case of the people of Boston versus the British Redcoat soldiers. The people of Boston are charging the British Redcoats with murder of 5 colonists. Prosecution, you may address the jury with your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Benjamin Lynn. I am attorney prosecuting the British soldiers and King George as well as Parliament for their role in senseless, brutal murder of 2 colonial men. Why, you may ask, should the King of England and Parliament also be held accountable? Well, it is true. The soldiers used their weapons and massacred these innocent young men. The King, as well as his governing body, placed them in this impossible setting. But for now, we will focus on just the soldiers who cowardly used their muskets to take 2 young lives away from their families. To fire upon a crowd is senseless and uncalled for. These British soldiers knew the young colonists were anxious, and many of them were unarmed. These innocent men were simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. These men dreamed of self-government. These men dreamed of being treated with respect and dignity as they begged for freedom and independence. What price did they pay to have their dreams fulfilled? They paid with their lives. They died because the British soldiers cowardly shot into a crowd, destroying not only young men's dreams of hope, but all chances for these brave young men to have a chance to live life at all. I will prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that these British soldiers are guilty of murder by killing these young, innocent men. Thank you, Your Honor.
Defense, you may address the jury with your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Your Honor, this is a criminal case, but the wrong side is on trial. This is a case about the local colonial soldiers bullying and terrifying the British soldiers. The colonists shouted mean comments to the British Army. The colonists threw snowballs, ice, rocks, and even tormented the British Redcoats, a nickname the colonists made up to torment the British soldiers. The poor British soldiers simply had had enough. How much can these exhausted, lonely young men take? Wasn't it bad enough they were missing their homes, their families, even their beds? They have to endure the mental and physical abuse the colonists subjected them to. These men were trying to please their king and follow his commands. What a sad, horrible, and terrifying situation they were forced into. Captain Preston went there on that night in question to protect his 9 soldiers. He was concerned about the trouble that had occurred during the day. He was simply doing his job. I will prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that the British Army and these fine young men did not do anything wrong. When shots were fired and 5 Bostonians had been hit, it was simply a mistake of fear and repeated abuse caused by the colonists. Thank you, Your Honor.
Prosecution, you may call your first witness to the stand.
Prosecution calls Benjamin Burdick.
Witness, please approach the bailiff.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. You do. Please give your name to the court.
My name is Benjamin Burdick.
Prosecution, you may approach your witness.
Good morning, Mr. Burdick.
Good morning.
Where were you on the night of March 5th?
I came into King Street about 9 o'clock.
Were you able to speak with any of the soldiers?
Yes, I asked if he was going to Loogootee. He said yes. I asked if he was fired, and he said yes.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you very much, Mr. Burdick.
Does the defense want to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
What did you hear the captain say after the first shot was fired?
Before the firing, I saw the captain say, "Stop firing, no fire, or no firing."
Did the colonists do anything to endanger the soldiers?
Before the firing, I saw a stick thrown at the soldiers.
A stick or a 3-foot-long branch that could have been used as a weapon? Thank you, that's what I thought. I have no further questions. Right?
Does the prosecution have any further questions for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. When the confrontation was over, you stayed behind for quite some time. Why would you do such a thing?
I wanted to stay there and every memory in my mind, so when a day like today came, I would be able to give my account of what happened on that terrible day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burdick. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, witness. You may leave the stand. Prosecution, please call your next witness to the stand.
Prosecution calls Robert Lawyer.
Witness, please approach the bailiff.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Please give your name to the court. Robert Goodall.
Prosecution, you may approach your witness.
Good morning, Mr. Gordon. Where were you on the night of March 5th? I was at the Times Square when I saw Captain Preston and guiding his soldiers. What did you hear Captain Preston say? Captain Preston said leave and where they'll be murdered. What is the next thing you heard Captain Preston say? I heard Captain Preston say fire and one more went on. How can you be sure that it was Captain Preston? I saw an officer, called the officer by the name, and that name was Captain Preston. How close were you to the captain? I was so close I touched his face. I know for the question.
Defense, would you like to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Did you actually see Captain Preston this news and you said were fired? Did you see the citizens of Boston hit the soldiers with a 3-foot-long stick, ice, rocks, and snowballs?
Yes.
I have one last question for you, Mr. Carter. Are you loyal to the crown or the people of Boston?
I am completely and totally loyal to the people of Boston.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
The prosecution, any further questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, witness. You may leave the stand. Prosecution, please call your next witness to the stand.
Prosecution.
Witness, please approach the bailiff.
Raise your right hand. You said tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. I did. First thing you can call. Theodore Bliss.
Defense, you may approach your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Theodore.
Good morning.
Why do you believe the people went to the town square that night?
I believe they're going to start a fight with the soldiers because they told me so.
What was the first weapon you witnessed being used to hurt someone that night?
I saw the men in the mob assembled in a square, throwing snowballs at the soldiers, and some were struck with a stick that was about 3 feet long.
One soldier was struck by that stick and then stepped back and fired. Why do you believe he stepped back?
The soldiers weren't told to fire, so I believe he stepped back to get away from the stick.
Why then do you think he would have fired?
I cannot be sure, but I believe it was defense of his life.
Where were you when the first shot was fired?
I was standing by Captain Preston.
Did you hear the word fired?
I heard the word fired several times, but I don't know whether it came from the captain, the soldiers, or the people.
Do you think someone in the mob of angry colonists could have yelled fire?
I'm not sure he yelled fire. I only heard the first shot.
Thank you. Your Honor, no further questions.
Prosecution, you want to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Theodore.
Good morning.
Theodore, was it true that you were standing close to Captain Preston that night?
Yes, I recognized him beside me.
Theodore, do you know Captain Preston's voice?
Yes, I was beside him and would have heard him giving an order to fire.
Do you believe that Captain Preston went to the square to kill the innocent people that night?
No, because I believe it was the people who wanted to start a fight that terrible night.
But wasn't it true that Captain Preston told you that they were going there with loaded guns?
Yes, because the people were threatening the soldiers earlier in the day, so they were loaded for their own safety and protection.
Why do you believe the first shot fired?
I believe the first shot was fired on accident. Nobody knows if the people in the crowd yelled fire or the soldiers.
Finally, are you loyal to the king or the people of Boston?
I'm loyal to my king.
Exactly!
Objection!
Order!
No further questions.
Defense, do you have any?
Call him. The defendant now.
Defense, do you have any further questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, witness, and you'll leave stand.
I know.
Prosecution, please call your next witness to the stand.
The prosecution calls Captain Thomas Preston.
Witness, please approach the bailiff.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please give your name to the court.
I'm Captain Thomas Preston.
He's green.
Prosecution, may approach your witness.
Good morning, Captain Preston. Good morning. Why were your guns loaded that night if you were not looking for trouble?
I was worried about them. I would have been irresponsible to not have my men capable of protecting themselves. Their lives were my responsibility.
Thank you. I have no further questions at this time.
Does the defense want to cross-examine the witness?
Yes.
What was the first event that occurred Monday night, March 5th?
At 8 o'clock that Monday night, 2 of my soldiers were attacked and wounded.
Why do you believe the townspeople were ready to fire though?
About 9 o'clock, some of the guards came to me and informed me the town's inhabitants were assembling to attack the troops, and that they were ringing the bells as a signal for people to gather.
When you arrived, what was the manner of the townspeople?
I saw the people in great commotion and heard them use the most cruel and horrid threats against my soldiers.
Why do you believe they assembled?
I believe they were angry at my soldiers and our king.
Who were you most worried about in that point in time?
I was most worried about my sentry, who was guarding the king's army, money, and supplies. He was being surrounded.
Did you give the order to fire that night?
No, I did not. Objection! Sustained.
The prosecution will read further questions for this witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you loyal to the people of Boston or to the king?
I am loyal.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, witness, and you'll leave stand. Prosecution, please call your next witness to the stand.
Your Honor, we rest.
Defense, please call your next witness to the stand.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call Darren Cornwall to the stand.
Witness, please approach the bailiff.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and so help you God. Please give your name to the court.
Daniel Cornwall.
Defense, you may approach your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Cornwall.
Good morning.
Where were you on the night of March 5th?
I was in the town square, within 2 yards of Captain Preston.
How did you know it was Captain Preston?
Captain Preston is my commanding officer.
What were the first words you heard that night?
I heard don't fire. I was sure at first that my captain did not give the order to fire. Now I firmly believe it.
Even though you believe your captain did not give the order to fire, did you fire?
No, I was afraid for my life, but I did not fire because the captain did not tell me.
Why are you afraid for your life?
I was afraid for my life because the colonists were angry and about to attack.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Does the prosecution want to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Colonel.
Good morning.
How could you be sure you heard the captain press and say fire?
I was near him, and I do not think I heard his voice.
You said you thought. How could you be sure?
I was within 2 yards of Captain Preston in Town Square.
Yes, but there was a lot going on that night. Could you identify all the soldiers around you?
No.
Then how are you sure that it was not Captain Preston who gave the order to fire?
I couldn't get a good look from the yelling in action, but I believe it wasn't the captain's voice, because I know his voice.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Does the defense have any further questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, witness. You may leave the stand. Defense, please call your next witness to the stand.
I want to call Mr. Thompson to stand.
Witness, please approach the bailiff.
Put your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. I do. Please give your name to the court.
My name is Richard Palm.
Defense, you may approach your witness.
Good morning, Mrs. Holmes.
Good morning.
Do you believe that Captain Preston went down to the square to fire upon the colonists that night?
Captain Preston said to me, by no means, that I shall intend to fire on the inhabitants of the city.
Do you see any weapons that did harm any of the soldiers?
Yes, sir. I saw heavy and dangerous snow and ice balls strike Captain Preston's right hand while he was surveying the crowd. There were the people had other weapons too.
Do you believe that Captain Preston took fire that night?
I believe Captain Preston and the soldiers fired that night in defense of their lives.
Is it true you witnessed the people fighting back as the rest of the turn come down the crowd?
Yes, but there was only one soldier to about 50 men. Obviously not enough men to control such a crowd.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Does the prosecution want to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. You said you saw the captain get struck on the right hand with a ball of ice. What happened next?
He stepped back one foot and fired the first gun.
After the first gun was fired, where was Captain Preston?
Captain Preston stood in front of me, halfway between the breech of the muzzle of the gun.
Did you hear Captain Preston give the word fire?
I told you, Your Honor, that after the first gun was fired, I heard the word fire, but who gave it? I don't know.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Does the defense have any further questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, witness. You may leave the stand. Defense, please call your next witness to the stand.
Your Honor, the defense rests our case.
Thank you, attorneys, for presenting your witnesses to the court. Now, would the prosecution please address the jury with a closing statement?
Gentlemen of the jury, Your Honor, I have proven to you beyond a reasonable doubt that the British Army brutally shot and murdered innocent men. The British Army massacred in cold blood innocent men by recklessly firing into a crowd. They knew what they were doing. They were the bullies. They had been roaming the streets of Boston for months, terrorizing the colonists with their fancy uniforms and muskets. This was no accident, like the defense attorney tried tricking you into believing. This was a cold and heartless act of murder. Actions have consequences. I trust you will do the right thing and find the British soldiers guilty, 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 because they are murderers. They took away men's lives and hopes for a future of self-government and freedom. Guilty, guilty, guilty.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Defense, you may address the jury with your closing statement. Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies, gentlemen of the jury, Your Honor, I have proven with my evidence that the British soldiers did not mean to kill any colonists. They were afraid. They were exhausted. They were missing their families
and their homes. We may never know who shouted fire, but we do know the British soldiers meant no harm to the citizens of Boston. It is unfortunate, but you cannot blame a young man for being afraid and doing the only thing he can do to protect himself. Can anyone here say they would have not done the same thing? Of course not. It is our rights as Englishmen to protect ourselves. I know you will do the right thing and find the British Army innocent of these charges. Thank you, Your Honor.
Jury, this is your time to leave the courtroom and deliberate over the facts you were presented with today. As you heard, the people of Boston are charging the British Redcoats with murder of 5 colonists. Your job is to decide if that charge is warranted beyond a reasonable doubt. Bailiff, please dismiss the jury. Jury, what say you on the charge of murder of 5 colonists?
After listening to the evidence presented in the courtroom today, we find the British Redcoats and Captain Thomas Preston to be not guilty.
Okay, we have to tell you that the kids are disappointed because Officer Jason Hanette is back here, and he was ready to do kind of disappointed that we don't get a handcuff Miles. Yes, we are. Get some order here. All right, Ashley would like to share with you what really happened.
Recorded history shows that after 2.5 hours of deliberation, the jury acquitted Captain Thomas Preston. There was not enough evidence to prove behind a reasonable doubt that he had given the order to fire that night. Later, Privates Hoover and Montgomery were found not guilty of murder, but guilty of manslaughter in the death of Christmas Avenue. The court ordered that they be branded on their thumbs with the letter N. The mystery of who actually gave the order to fire was solved after the trial. Shortly before he left Boston, Private Montgomery admitted to his lawyers that it was he who cried fire after he had been knocked down by a thrown stick. Thank you.